Hello, everybody, and welcome back inside the State Champ studio, as always, alongside former Michigan State Spartan and head coach at Turn Into, Mackenzie Long. My name is Kara Lyles. Kenzie, we have 1 week left of the regular season, but this week we've seen a lot of teams kind of pick up games with opponents that really aren't in their division. Why is that?
Yeah, I do like that teams are doing that. I think the main reason teams are doing that is so they kind of get quality opponents, but also not showing their best to the teams that they're going to have to beat once they get into districts and regionals. It's a great opportunity to challenge your team without having pressure, right? What do we have? What can we think about when we're going into playoffs, but also not show our cards as well.
And that's important, right? To not, kind of give every little thing that you've been working on in practice each and every day away right away before you make it into playoffs.
Yeah, and the story of this season has been the pitchers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our pitchers have been just phenomenal pitchers. So when you go and play getting prepared, you don't want to show your cards and help them see them, their main pitchers 3-4 times before that they're actually going to have to play them in regionals or districts or anything like that. And so being able to play quality pitchers and quality opponents while not also playing the people you're going to play is a great opportunity for these teams.
I remember also when I was in high school, I would, go to practice and then you'd go home, rush home to see who was playing on TV. What was the best matchup to see on TV that night? And I feel like that was a reason. That was a great learning experience for me, going into that point in the season. What do you take away from that?
Yeah, I hope the players that are playing and getting ready to play are watching college softball right now. I mean, right now, college softball, you have access to it nonstop. And that wasn't the case when we were playing, right? But now you can watch any game. I think it's really important to see the players deal with adversity in college and how they bounce back, because adversity is going to happen. You're not going to go 3 for 3 every game. You're not going to go 4 for 4. You're not going to always have a great pitching outing. But what you can see is grit and determination. Like this past weekend against Georgia, they were kind of a one and done. And their hitter that actually scored the tying run in the bottom of the 7th was 0 for 3 in that game. And she was also didn't have a great series all weekend. But yet she comes up, she's clutch, she hits the game tying RBI. And so you can learn a lot from moments, right? It's not the end of the road if you're not having a great game. You can still be gritty and find a way to impact your team.
It's a confidence booster, right? To look at somebody like, oh, she didn't have a very successful series, but here she is in the moment where it counts, showing up.
Yeah, and you need to have that, right? You want your best players in the moment when it matters. But if your best players are struggling with confidence, then that becomes an issue for the entire team, because your best players are what eludes confidence for the rest of the team. And so the best players don't always have to show up statistically, but they always have to show up and own their impact of what they bring to their team. And in the case of the Georgia player, the leadoff hitter, she did that. Dallas Goodnight is their it player, and she provided that in that game.
Well, let's talk about some teams that we have right here in Michigan. The Michigan Challenge Tournament was this weekend. We had some great games. Let's start off talking about Mercy. Caitlin Palazzi just continues to get it done.
Yeah, Caitlin Palazzi had 20 strikeouts in that game. I mean, again, it's unreal, because Milan is a good team.
Yes.
They're having a great season. And so when you think about what she's able to do and how she's able to dominate different hitters, I mean, they keep throwing different games and different teams at her, and yet she's still able to sit down different hitters. I love that about her.
But we also want to touch on the importance of their hitters. Caitlin just continues to keep getting it done, but also you have to score runs to win, and they're doing that.
Exactly, and that was kind of their Achilles heel last year, is were they able to score runs? And this year, Caitlin's able to be Caitlin and even more dominant because she has the run support. She doesn't have to be perfect this year. They have players like Kat Burris. They have players like Evelyn Miller. But what I love about it is they have different unsung heroes in every game. And that's what's going to happen when you are going in and trying to win a state championship like they are, is you need to have different players that are able to provide and produce. And for them, they do. They have Sophia Chapman, right? They have Charlie Lambert. They have players that, if Kat Burris has an off day, no big deal. Evelyn Miller will perform. If Sophia Chapman has a bad day, no big deal. Charlie Lambert will do it. I mean, they even had their 9-hole hitter, Lauren Miller, has had a great weekend at the Michigan Challenge.
Is Mercy the hottest team right now?
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, when you look at who they've only lost one game.
Right.
And they lost that to Gaylord, and we all know Gaylord is Gaylord. But yes, no doubt they're the hottest team because of the fact that they're producing 1 through 9. I think it's so important that they're playing a team sport right now, and they're not individualized. Whether we talk about Caitlin Plazzi all the time or not, Caitlin is a piece of the puzzle. She's a big piece, but they also have pieces around her that allow them to play and win.
Another hot team that had a great run this weekend was South Lyon. They took on Ottawa Lake Whiteford, ended in a 2-2 tie, but Unity Nelson.
Gosh, Unity, again, she's a huge factor for Ottawa Lake Whiteford. She had 16 strikeouts in that game.
It's incredible.
And they will go as far as she goes because she does it in the box as well. And in that game, South Lyon is another team that has a chance to make a run at the Division I level. And when you have somebody at the Division III level like Whiteford able to tie them at a 2-2 with Unity striking out 16, that just, again, catapults them into the postseason because now they know that they can perform against their best teams as well.
And, before we started the show, we talked about the success that Unity had last year, and she's kind of, carrying it into this year, and she's that girl. For their team.
I love that you pointed out last year because last year they had players like Patrina Marsh and Allie Van Brandt, right? Allie Van Brandt went on and was a Big Ten starter this year as a freshman. So they had players around her that were her supporting cast, so she was able to make a little bit more mistakes. This year she has to be more perfect on the mound, so to speak. But because she is able to have the success from last year, she's able to be gritty and know what it takes to be on the mound. So she kind of knows how to take that lead and be the leader, not only on the box or in the box, but on the mound.
Were there any other teams from the Michigan Challenge tournament that kind of stood out to you? Any games that you thought were maybe shocking in a way?
Yeah, I thought Dakota made a great run, right? I thought Dakota this was a stepping stone for Dakota, I think. They ended up losing to Mercy 1-0. But Gracie Maloney and Caitlin Plazzi went head-to-head. And I do think Dakota has a chance to make a little run, and this was a huge weekend for them because even though they didn't win against Mercy, they saw that they can be a part of the best, and they did that with Gracie on the mound.
Well, we've got some changes to our top 10 teams list. Allen Park is in at number 3. Are they peaking at the right time?
They are peaking at the right time. They have players like Max Satarski batted .650 on the weekend. Avery Garden batted .615 on the weekend. They played really, really good teams. And even though they lost to Mercy in the championship, neither side pitched their ace, which I do love because they're probably going to run into each other in the playoffs. But yes, they are a team that's peaking at the right time. Their offense is clicking. They scored 59 runs on the weekend. And they don't have a pitcher like Palazzi that's going to throw up zeros. They have Mel Philippak that is going to provide quality outings, and she's been phenomenal this year. But they do need to score runs. But they know that, and they're starting to take that on, and they're starting to see themselves produce and score a ton of runs.
We did cover their game on Tuesday against Woodhaven. You can catch those highlights on State Champs social media pages. Let's talk about another team on our top 10 list. Is Lake Orion creeping back in at number 10?
Yeah, Lake Orion is a high-powered offense, just like Allen Park. They have Riley Limburger on the mound, but they have such a quality offense. They're stacked 1 through 9, and what I love about them is they're mature. They're on the older side, and so when you're able to game after game after game have a different player come up and produce, they score a ton of runs. They're going to be hard because they are stacked 1 through 9, and I'm excited to see how Lake Orion goes through this postseason because I do think that they're going to be able to score some runs against quality pitching.
Well, with it being the last week of the regular season, this is our final top 10 list. Congratulations to all of our top 10 teams. We're excited to see how the rest of this season plays out. As always, you can view these rankings at statechampsw.com. Well, we don't have any changes to our Player of the Year list this week, but we do want to talk about Ava Bradshaw. She was the winner back in 2021. Obviously, last year out all season with a knee injury. But I want to ask you, would winning this award and having such a successful end to her season be a great capping point for such a successful high school career?
Yeah, Ava Bradshaw is one of the best people I've been around. What I love about Ava is adversity hit, and adversity is hard for anybody. And she's going to Duke, so she's going to face adversity in the ACC. But what I love is she did bounce back from winning the title, having to stay off, and now she's competing again to be the State Champs Player of the Year. Ava, yes, I do think that that's going to be what catapults her career and what allows her to be successful in college. Adversity hits for everybody.
Right.
That's just the reality of our sport. But because she was able to face adversity in her early on in her career, she's going to be ready to perform in college. And I do think her being able to bounce back shows that she's ready. She's ready for the next level because of the fact that the knee didn't take her out, and I love that for her. I think she's been great all season. She's going to be somebody that really carries South Lyon into the playoffs. I think she has a chance to carry South Lyon into the playoffs, and I'm excited to see how she continues to evolve as she grows in this new pitching form that she is.
Yeah, that obviously a fantastic softball player, has seen so much success in her time in high school, but also, like you said, it speaks so much to the character and the drive that she has as a person.
Yes.
Not just as an athlete.
When you win the award, whether it's because they won the state champion, as well as winning that Player of the Year award in that season, and when you're winning that, you kind of settle. But we don't see that with Bradshaw, and that's what I love is she had to bounce back, and it does speak volumes of her character, her drive, but it also speaks volumes of her we attitude to her team. Right? She loves South Lyon. She adores the players that she plays with, and when you're able to do that while playing hurt, while knowing that you have a next step in your career, that's going to allow her to just, again, be ready for the next level. And I'm excited to see the teammate that she's going to be at Duke because of the quality teammate and player she is at South Lyon.
Well, we will be freezing our top 10 after districts, but as always, you can vote for your favorite player at statechampsw.com. Well, it's the last week of the regular season. Playoffs just right around the corner. Districts are just so close, but I want to pick your brain a little bit. I want to see if you have a standout in each division. Let's start with number 4.
Yeah, USA obviously has been the mainstay at Division 4. They're just a powerhouse at the Division 4 level, but I do think Plymouth Christian Academy has a chance to make a little run this year. They have a chance to go up against USA, and I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
And they're 24-4. I mean, that's a very successful high school record.
Yeah, they are, and they've actually challenged themselves by playing even teams in Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, they played one of the best teams in Ohio, and so they are challenging themselves and putting themselves in a good position to be ready to perform at the Division 4 level.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely excited to see what they can do as playoffs get closer and as they move along, but let's move along. How about number 3? Anybody standing out?
Yeah, there's quite a few teams that I think have a chance at the Division 3 level. I think Grass Lake is kind of the main one at the Division 3 level, but you do have teams like Lanesburg, you have Clare, you have Ottawa Lake Whiteford, and the main thing about all of them is they all have impact players. And so when you have an impact player, all it takes is one good game. But I do think Division 3 is kind of up in the air. I'm excited to see how that unfolds this year.
I feel like each year Division 3 has some of the best games when you make it to Michigan State, right?
Yeah, Division 3 had the best game last year. It is. It's really quality opponents.
Yeah.
And when you think of divisions, it's like, oh, they're just Division 3. No, there's some phenomenal players at the Division 3 level.
Like we talked about at the beginning of the show, all of these, different divisions playing each other at this point in the season, that helps,
And
it really does.
You're seeing that right now with the Division 3 and Division 1 crossover games that are happening. And the thing is they're competing. The Division 3 teams are competing. And so, again, Division 3 is up in the air, but there's a lot of really, really good teams.
Yeah. How about Division 2 also? Has so many stacked teams in Division 2.
Yeah, obviously Gaylord. Gaylord's probably the favorite, will be the favorite, but Vicksburg is up there with them, and we can see a rematch with those two teams. But also Frankenmuth and Milan are two teams that I think can make a little run. Both of them have been just quality games all year long. They've kind of been the under teams, right?
Yeah.
Milan, they only lost to Mercy 3-0. And so, again, I think that Milan has a chance to make a little run. I think Gaylord is the favorite, but you never know.
I got to ask, how about Division 1?
Oh, yes. I do, Division 1. Mercy is Mercy. Mercy is going to be Mercy. We saw them get upset last year, so there is a chance that they can get upset. I think South Lyon is up and always has a chance to fight with Ava on the mound. I think Allen Park has a chance to make a little run. They're different than like South Lyon and Mercy because they're more of a high-powered offense, but they do have the run support that allows them to go far. And the last one I think is Dakota. I think Dakota has a chance to make a little run. Their offense is clicking, and when you have an offense that clicks with a stud on the mound and Gracie Maloney, you have a chance as well. But Division 1, I'm excited for those games.
Well, you talked about stud pitchers, and I feel like all season we have just talked about how dominant the pitchers are in the state of Michigan. But I want to talk about, as we get into playoffs a little bit more, how important is having a strong mindset as a hitter walking into that batter's box?
Yeah, your mindset is everything. If you go into the game already defeated because you know you're facing somebody like Palazzi or Maloney or Bradshaw, then you're going to be defeated.
Right.
But what you want to find is what pitches work well for them, and then lay off of those pitches. Force them to bring a ball to you. Now, when you have somebody like Palazzi, they throw high in the zone, or even Maloney, all three of them actually throw high in the zone, right? We want to force balls down, or we want to tattoo a ball right away early, because then it forces them to overthink that pitch, right? And so if you can get to either one of those pitchers early, you're going to have a chance to kind of go on a run, because it forces them to kind of overthink it. The one thing about those three pitchers is they're all older, right? We have a junior and 2 seniors, and just the pitching in general have been more older. So again, they're going to be more seasoned, but how can you get off the game? Force them to throw more pitches. Don't attack their pitch. Attack a pitch that you want, and be so steadfast in that pitch. So for me, if I was facing them, I would want to look down. So even though if I get a meaty pitch right at my chest, I'm not going to swing, because my mindset is see ball down, and you have to be okay with your mindset, and you have to go all in your mindset.
And you talked about, make them throw pitches, make them pitch to you. And I think another thing that you mentioned earlier to me about was learning something from your at-bat and taking it to the on-deck circle and telling the girl, even if you didn't have a successful at-bat, taking that to the girl on deck and saying, this is what I learned.
Yeah, and I think the way you talk to your teammates matters. And I think that's one thing that all players can learn, is how to talk to your teammates. Because usually what happens is you go to the person on deck and you're like, oh my gosh, she has such a rise ball, or oh my gosh, she throws so fast. Well, all you're doing is instilling fear into the player that's going up to bat, versus like, hey, she throws high, see ball down, and you got this, right? We've prepared for this. So you got to speak confidence into your team. And the best way to do that is by not over analyzing the pitcher, but just go to quadrants. She throws high and in, she throws low and out, versus she throws a rise ball, she throws a curve. The way we speak to each other matters. And so as you're learning how to speak confidence into your teammate.
I'm literally we're like locked eyes. I'm like, that is so important though. And it's something you never would have thought of. Like being in high school or being, in travel ball, you always feel that intimidation. But once somebody comes up to you and they say, hey, it's not that bad. You know what? You got this. Just think about it, and you got it.
And I think where we get in trouble as hitters is we try to guess what pitch they're throwing, right? So if it's high in the zone, we automatically assume it's a rise ball. That's not always the case. And so what we try to do is we try to break it down into, like I said, quadrants, right? So if I'm facing somebody like Caitlin Palazzi, right, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to look down. I'm going to look at the 2 lower quadrants. I'm not going to say, oh, don't swing at the rise ball. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, lay off those quadrants 1 and 2, and I'm going to seek the bottom quadrant. And when you can learn how to communicate effectively, that's going to help your teammates. But stay away from talking about rise balls, change ups, curves, and hey, hit the hard pitch. Hit the down pitch, hit the high pitch, whatever it is. We don't have to name the pitch, because that's not always the case.
With the Kenzie Long hitting approach, I know that all of our softball players, their bats are going to be hot this weekend, and moving into Michigan State week, they're going to stay hot.
Yes, and I hope those infielders continue to turn too.
Swing Away is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious, make magic. Swing Away is also presented to you by Turn Into Softball. Continue to dream big and invest in development. Visit our website at turnintomi.com. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud sponsor of the MHSAA. And the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Michigan High School Male and Female Athlete of the Year Award.